Welcome to Sleepy Music Tales. Hello my friends, and welcome to my channel, a sanctuary where stories unfold like whispers in the night, gently carrying you into a realm of deep, restful sleep. I'm Theo, your storyteller, and I'm so honored to share this space with you. Here, beneath the soft glow of the stars, we weave together timeless tales, soothing melodies, and healing frequencies, all designed to calm your mind, ease your heart, and guide you into a tranquil night. As you listen, let the gentle vibrations of restorative sound frequencies wash over you. These tones are here to cradle your spirit, to dissolve the weight of the day, and to align your body with the rhythm of peace. With each note, each word, you'll feel yourself drifting lighter, freer, into the embrace of sleep. But before we begin, take a moment, settle into a place of comfort. Adjust your blankets, let your muscles relax, and take a deep, slow breath in. Hold it for a moment, and exhale, releasing everything that no longer serves you. There is nothing more to do now, nowhere to be. Just here, just this moment. Tonight, we embark on a journey into a tale of longing and destiny, of choices that echo beyond time. It is a story of a prince caught between two worlds, the life he was born into, and the one his heart has always yearned for. It is a tale of love and loss, of magic and mystery, of stepping beyond the veil into the unknown. So, close your eyes, let go, and allow me to take you to the mist-covered hills of Ireland, where the stars shine brighter and the whispers of the other world are calling. This is the story of Connla, the prince who vanished into the land of eternal youth. Let's begin. In a faraway land where time seemed to drift more slowly and the breeze carried the whispers of old tales, there lay a small kingdom named Dunmorthil. Nestled among gently rolling hills and endless fields, Dunmorthil awoke each morning to the soft songs of forest birds, and when night fell, the flickering glow of oil lamps lit the winding cobblestone paths of its villages. The air was always fresh, laced with the faint scent of new grass, mingled with the cool touch of distant hills. Ruling over this peaceful land was Eon, a king known for his unwavering strength and just heart. Tales of his bravery echoed through the land, earning him the title Warrior of 100 Battles, not just for his skill in combat, but for the wisdom and loyalty he bestowed upon his people. Under Eon's rule, Dunmorthil flourished in peace, though from time to time, a breeze from distant places would bring rumors of mystical realms that ordinary folk only dared to dream of. Ugin had one son, Connla. He was born on a luminous night when the stars seemed closer to the earth than ever before. scattering the sky with shimmering light. From an early age, Connla showed remarkable intelligence and sensitivity. He learned quickly, rode horses with ease, shot arrows with precision, and possessed a listening ear that made those around him feel truly heard. Yet, Eogan often noticed a faraway look in his son's eyes, a gaze that wandered beyond battlefields and thrones, reaching toward distant horizons where his feet had never stepped, but where his heart endlessly yearned. Unlike his father, whose life was shaped by duty and honor, Connla found peace in the simple things. On early mornings, when dew still clung to blades of grass, he would lead his horse along the stream, listening to the soft murmur of the water, blending with the breeze rustling through the trees. Sometimes he would sit for hours, watching the rippling surface of the river reflect the vast blue sky, wondering if there was another world beyond Dunmore Thiel, a place where people lived unbound by expectations and titles. Surrounding the kingdom was a series of gentle hills, and among them was Connla's favourite place, Carranlure. The hill wasn't particularly high, but it offered a sweeping view of the land below. On clear nights, standing at its summit, one could see thousands of stars, scattered like tiny gems across a velvet sky. Connla often climbed there alone, carrying a thick cloak and a piece of bread the castle cook had wrapped for him. Leaning back against a large stone, he would let his gaze wander over the undulating hills, stretching like frozen waves of an ancient sea. Some nights he closed his eyes, letting the wind brush against his face, imagining himself adrift on a vast ocean with no destination, no purpose, only the pure, unspoken freedom his life had never known. In Dunmore Thiel, everyone expected him to follow in Eogan's footsteps, to become a strong leader ready to defend the land should the need arise. Yet, deep within, Connla wasn't certain that path was meant for him. Eogan, though a man of few words, understood his son more than he let on. He recognized the fire burning in Connla's heart, a fire not of conquest but of discovery, of seeking meaning beyond the stone walls of the royal halls. Sometimes from afar Eogan would watch his son sitting on the crest of Carranlure, bathed in silver moonlight, his figure outlined against the sprawling sky. In those moments, the king's heart swelled with both pride and worry, pride in his thoughtful son, and worry that one day the pull of distant dreams would carry him away. The people of Dunmore Thiel held great affection for Connla. To them, he was more than a prince. He was a kind soul who listened to their stories and shared their joys and sorrows. He often strolled through the village markets, exchanging words with merchants, asking about harvests and the well-being of their family. Children especially adored the afternoons when Connla would sit among them, recounting tales passed down by Brannoch, the castle's elder druid. With hair silver as morning frost, and a voice as calming as a gentle breeze, Brannoch was the only one who truly understood the longing that tugged at Connla's spirit. There are souls Brannock once said as they sat by a crackling fire, that are born to seek beyond what the eyes can see. Yet, sometimes, what we chase across distant horizons already dwells quietly within us. Connla pondered those words long after the flames died down. Was he really searching for another land, or was it something deeper, a desire to be himself, free from titles and duties that felt like heavy cloaks draped across his shoulders? Nights spent on Connla became his sanctuary, where questions with no answers drifted like clouds overhead. Under that vast expanse of stars, he often wondered if the legends Brannock spoke of, places where time stood still, where sorrow held no sway, held any truth beyond mere stories whispered at dusk. Then, on one particular night, the breeze carried an unfamiliar fragrance, a blend of wild flowers and the faint freshness that lingers after rain. Connla sensed something different in the air. It wasn't fear that gripped him, but a deep, inexplicable curiosity, like the hill itself was murmuring secrets too ancient to be spoken aloud. The grasses swayed gently under the moon's gaze, and for a fleeting moment, every sound seemed to hush, as if the world had paused to listen. Connla's heartbeat slowed, not from apprehension, but from an unexpected serenity that washed over him. Tilting his face skyward, he noticed how the stars appeared brighter, the night sky somehow closer, as if the universe had edged nearer just to embrace him. And then, far at the edge of the hill, a faint glow emerged. It wasn't harsh or overwhelming. It shimmered softly, like the flicker of a candle seen through fog. What Connla didn't know then was that his life, so rooted in familiar paths, was about to veer into the unknown. The glow wasn't a trick of the eyes, nor a fleeting dream. It was a beckoning, a gentle invitation from beyond this world, from Aldemara, a realm where dreams weren't mere whispers of the night, but lived and breathed in the daylight. Yet, in that single suspended moment, surrounded by tender breezes and bathed in moonlight, Connla felt only peace, as if every restless thought had settled. And for the first time in a long while, he simply belonged. That night, the sky stretched like a deep velvet tapestry, woven with shimmering silver threads. The air was fresh, carrying the faintest hint of wildflowers blooming late in the valley. At the peak of Connla, where the tall grasses swayed gently with the cool night breeze, Connla sat quietly, wrapped in his thick cloak. His gaze wandered toward the horizon, where the stars seemed to murmur secrets only the night could reveal. Below the hill, the kingdom of Dunmorthal lay peacefully asleep. The glow from scattered hearths had long since faded, leaving only the distant flicker of a lone torch at the gate, flickering like a solitary firefly against the vast darkness. Up here, time felt suspended. Just the breeze, the soft rustle of leaves, and the slow, steady breaths of a soul quietly searching for something it could not name. Closing his eyes, Connla let the wind brush against his face. Perhaps I should go back, he thought. But something held him there. Maybe the perfect stillness of the night, or perhaps that inexplicable sense that something was about to happen. Then a delicate fragrance drifted past, unlike the familiar sense of meadow grass or forest pine. This was gentler, carrying a warmth that stirred something deep inside. His eyes snapped open, scanning the dark landscape. The wind still stirred the grasses, yet within it he thought he heard something else. A faint sound, part melody, part whisper, so soft it might have been the wind playing tricks on his ears. His heart quickened, not with fear, but curiosity. And then he saw it. A faint glow emerging beyond the brush. No harsh blaze, just a gentle radiance, like moonlight caught in a morning dew. Slowly, cautiously, Connla stood and stepped forward, drawn toward the light like a moth to a flame, though with none of the dread, only wonder. The glow moved, or rather, someone was stepping forth from it. In that fleeting instant, everything seemed to still. The breeze ceased. The world held its breath. She appeared as if woven from the very fabric of the night. Her gown shimmered softly, flowing like silver rivers stitched with stardust. Her hair cascaded down her back in midnight waves, catching glimmers of light with every subtle movement. And her eyes, those eyes, were calm pools of endless depth, inviting yet unknowable. Ancient and young all at once, Connla's breath caught in his throat. It wasn't just her beauty, though that alone was striking. It was the strange sense of familiarity that unsettled him, like a half-remembered dream stirring awake. Oran. She spoke his name, yet it wasn't a voice in the air. It resonated deeper, slipping past his ears to wrap around his heart. It was warm, like the comfort of blankets on a cold morning, like a song he might have once heard as a child, long forgotten but instantly known. "How do you know my name?" he managed, voice roughened by confusion. The woman smiled, not bright or boastful, just a quiet, knowing curve of her lips, as gentle as rain kissing parched earth. "I know," she said softly, "because I have waited for you for a long time." Connla took a step back, not out of fear, but from the weight of those words. His mind raced, questions pressing, yet none that he could form. "Who are you?" he asked finally. "I am Sorcha," she replied, "from a place far beyond any horizon you've ever gazed upon from this hill." Sorcha. The name echoed in his mind like a forgotten melody. Strange, yet heartbreakingly familiar. "Why me?" he breathed, unable to tear his eyes away. Instead of answering immediately, Sorcha stepped closer. With each stride, the earth beneath her seemed to glow softly, as if welcoming her presence. She stopped just within reach, her gaze steady but gentle. It unnerved him, the way she looked at him, not just seeing him but knowing him, peering into places he'd never shown anyone. She whispered, "Are the one who looks beyond the hills, the one who listens to the wind with more than ears, you hear with your heart." Her words wrapped around him, leaving a strange warmth and ache. You've wondered, haven't you, if there is more beyond Dunmorthil? The question pierced through him like a softly drawn arrow, straight to thoughts he had never spoken aloud. His chest tightened. He had no words. Sorcha extended her hand. Her fingers were slender, delicate, fingers that seemed sculpted from moonlight itself. "There is a place," she said, voice like a lullaby at twilight, "where time cannot reach, where no burdens weigh the soul. Freedom, pure and unbound, that which you seek lies there. Aldamara." The name struck him like a bell rung deep within his bones. Aldamara. He remembered Brannock's old stories, murmured by firelight, tales of lands beyond the mortal veil, yet never truly believed. Until now. "Come," Sorcha beckoned softly. "One step, Conlan. That's all it takes." His gaze dropped to her outstretched hand. His thoughts churned, images of his father, Eogan, sleeping soundly back in the castle. The heavy training sessions, the council meetings, where he felt out of place. And yet, intertwined with those memories, was the pull, the nights atop Cairn Lea, the restless longing he'd never been able to quiet. Just one step, he thought. One choice. He drew in a breath, hand lifting halfway toward hers, then paused. His heart pounded, a tangle of yearning and sudden hesitation clawing at his chest. Her eyes promised freedom, but beneath that promise, something held him back. A flicker of doubt, or perhaps something simpler. Fear. Not of her, nor the unknown. No, it was the weight of all he'd be leaving behind. His father's steady gaze, the warmth of home-cooked meals, the laughter of village children. Could he really step away from all of that? His hand faltered, slowly lowering back to his side. A beat of silence stretched between them. The night air thickened with tension, yet Sorcha's expression never hardened. She tilted her head, kindness shimmering in her gaze. "I understand," she murmured. "Journeys of the heart aren't taken in haste. When you're ready, the path will remain." I'm sorry," Conlan whispered, a twinge of regret twisting inside. "No need for apologies," she said, smiling softly. "Aldamara waits with patience. Dreams never vanish. They wait for the heart to catch up." Conlan glanced once more toward her, then toward the soft glow beyond. The light beckoned, warm and inviting, a sanctuary just steps away. But not tonight. Turning away, he felt a curious mix of relief and sorrow. His footsteps were heavy, but somehow steadier with each stride back down the hill. When he glanced over his shoulder, the luminous tree stood radiant at the summit, its gentle light bathing the peak in a tender glow, a promise lingering in the darkness. As he descended into the quiet folds of Dunmorthill, the village lights dimmed beneath the embrace of the night sky. Above, stars glittered on, unchanged, yet in his chest something had shifted, not closure, not an end, just a pause. Tonight he belonged here. But far above, on Ciaran Lir, the wind stirred once more, carrying the faintest whisper, "When you're ready, the door will open again." In the days following the enchanted encounter atop Connla, Conlan found himself caught between two worlds. One was the familiar rhythm of Dunmorthill, where mornings began with the crowing of roosters, the warm scent of freshly baked bread wafted from the kitchens, and the streets hummed with villagers preparing for the day ahead. The other was a quieter, deeper realm, the one that surfaced when night fell, bringing with it memories of soft, glowing light from the luminous tree, and the tender, knowing gaze of Sorcha. Those recollections slipped through his thoughts like mist, impossible to grasp, yet impossible to ignore. During the day, Conlan did his best to immerse himself in the kingdom's routine. He attended sword training, listened to the advisor's counsel, and engaged in discussions with his father, Eogan, about matters of governance. Yet, each task felt hollow, as if he were performing the motions of a life that no longer fully belonged to him. Often, in the middle of conversation, he would drift off, his gaze pulling toward distant hills, longing for something just beyond reach. Eogan, though a man of few words, was perceptive. He noticed the subtle shifts, the way Conlan's smiles grew rarer, his appetite waned, and his eyes, once bright with curiosity, now carried a distant glimmer. One late afternoon, when the setting sun bathed the castle walls in soft amber hues, Eogan sought out his son at the training grounds. "Son," he said gently, his deep voice laced with concern, "what weighs on your heart?" Conlan paused mid-swing, lowering his practice blade. He hesitated, torn between honesty and the urge to shield his father from the confusion that gnawed at him. How could he explain it all? The mysterious woman from another world, her offer of freedom, the pull of a realm beyond imagination. How could he reveal the temptation that tugged at him, knowing it might wound the man who had spent a lifetime preparing him to lead? "It's nothing, father," Conlan murmured, eyes dropping to the ground. "Perhaps I'm just tired." Eogan's hand, roughened by years of battle, came to rest on his shoulder, a touch firm, warm and anchoring. "Weariness is natural," he said, "but you needn't carry your burdens alone. Whatever troubles you, I'm here." Those words, spoken with sincerity, stirred something within Conlan, a mixture of guilt and gratitude. He offered a nod, a fleeting smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Yet as his father walked away, the emptiness inside only deepened. That night, when the castle's halls grew quiet and the glow of hearth fires dwindled, Connla once again found his way to Cernlia. The familiar path, worn smooth by countless footsteps, felt like a bridge between his two worlds, the one he knew and the one that whispered promises just beyond the veil of reality. At the summit, he sat upon the soft grass, tilting his face toward the heavens. Above, stars glittered in their eternal dance, indifferent to the turmoil below. How many countless souls had gazed up at them, burdened by choices just as difficult. "What am I supposed to do?" he whispered into the vastness. The wind answered only with its gentle hush. Part of him yearned for the freedom Sorcha had offered, a world untouched by duty or expectation, where he could simply be. Yet another part clung to the ties that rooted him here, the love for his father, the people who smiled and waved when he walked through the village, the scent of rain on familiar soil. Leaving would mean abandoning all of that, and yet staying meant living with a restless ache that no amount of swordplay or royal counsel could quell. That night stretched long and sleepless, the stars overhead silent witnesses to a heart torn in two. Days passed, and the inner conflict gnawed more fiercely. During a royal council meeting, meant to discuss harvest plans, Connla found his thoughts drifting. His gaze wandered to the window, drawn to the distant horizon where the hills rolled like ancient waves frozen in time. Without thinking, he spoke aloud. What if someone wished to seek another path, away from obligations? Would that be wrong? The room fell still. Advisors glanced at one another, their earlier discussions forgotten. Some exchanged confused looks, others disapproving frowns. Jorgen's gaze found his son's across the table. His face was calm, but his eyes, those steadfast eyes, held something deeper, understanding mixed with unspoken worry. "Everyone questions their road at some point," the king said after a pause. "But Connla, the right path, isn't always the easy one." The words settled heavily in the chamber. Connla lowered his gaze, nodding without reply. Yet, as the meeting resumed, his mind wandered far beyond stone walls and parchment scroll. When night came again, Connla's feet, almost of their own accord, led him back to Cernlia. But this time, Sorcha was waiting. She stood beneath the ancient branches of the luminous tree. Her presence bathed in the tree's soft glow. Her gown shimmered like moonlit waves, and when she spoke, her voice was the hush of wind through leaves. "You've been wrestling with yourself," she said, no accusation in her tone, only warmth. Connla exhaled a shaky breath. "I don't know what to do," he admitted. "Part of me longs for what you offer, but another part can't let go of what I'd leave behind." "That's not weakness," Sorcha murmured, stepping closer. It's the mark of someone who loves deeply. Her gaze, fathomless and kind, held his. But Connla, life doesn't wait forever. Some doors, once closed, never reopen. The words struck deep, stirring dread and urgency. Was this his chance slipping away? Would he spend years wondering what if? He glanced toward the opening in the luminous tree, its glow inviting, tender. One step, just one, and everything could change. Yet, he saw his father's face in his mind's eye, the quiet pride when Connla bested his first sparring partner, the nights spent by the hearth with shared silences that spoke louder than words. He thought of the baker's children waving at him every morning, of the village elder whose stories filled winter evenings with laughter. Could he truly walk away from it all? His hand reached out, fingertips trembling, inches from Sorcha's outstretched palm, and then he stopped. A knot of fear twisted in his chest, not fear of the unknown, but of regret. Would stepping forward fill him with freedom or haunt him with loss? His voice broke. I can't. Not now. Sorcha's expression didn't falter. No disappointment. Only that same gentle understanding. Your heart knows its time, she said softly. When you're ready, I'll be here. Connla swallowed hard, turning away. His steps down the hill felt heavier than ever, yet each one grounded him. Behind him, the glow of the luminous tree pulsed gently, a patient heartbeat in the night, and as the village lights twinkled below, familiar and warm, the wind carried Sorcha's parting whisper. The hardest choices are often the truest ones. Trust yourself. For now, for tonight, Connla belonged to this world. And somehow that was enough. Days passed, yet Connla remained adrift in an ocean of swirling emotions. Many nights found him atop Connla, where gentle breezes danced through the tall grass and the stars overhead seemed to whisper secrets older than time. Though he had chosen not to step through the glowing path beneath the luminous tree, the memory of Sorcha, her tender gaze and the alluring invitation she offered, lingered like a soft echo in the corners of his mind. On one such evening, when the night sky draped the world in a velvety embrace, Connla once again ascended the familiar hill. He stood beneath the ancient tree, its radiant glow casting a serene light over the swaying meadow. The cool air was laced with the faintest fragrance of wildflowers, and for a moment it felt as if the entire world had paused, and then, as if summoned by his thoughts, or perhaps by something deeper, Sorcha appeared. She didn't seem to approach from afar. Rather, it felt as if she had always been there, part of the gentle glow, part of the night itself. Her smile, as soft and knowing as before, eased the tension in his chest. Connla, she said, her voice a soothing murmur, like a stream flowing over smooth stones. He drew a deep breath, conflicted emotions stirring behind his eyes. "I wasn't sure I'd return," he confessed. Sorcha tilted her head, the moonlight shimmering along the folds of her gown. Without a word, she extended her hand. Resting delicately in her palm was an apple, round, perfectly formed, its skin gleaming with a deep crimson hue, threaded with golden flecks that caught the light with every subtle movement. "This is the Amara fruit," she said softly. "A gift from Aldemara. With just one taste, you can feel the connection between our worlds. No obligations, no binding promises, only a bridge for your heart to see more clearly." Connla's gaze lingered on the apple, a subtle, sweet aroma wafted up, comforting yet strangely evocative, stirring something deep within, something half forgotten, like a fleeting dream from childhood. "And if I eat it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It won't chain you to a choice," Sorcha reassured, "but the Amara fruit speaks in ways words cannot. It's a thread between you and Aldemara, between you and your truest self." He hesitated. The world around them seemed to hold its breath. Even the breeze grew still, and for a fleeting heartbeat, the universe felt poised on the edge of that single moment. Slowly, cautiously, Connla reached out, fingers brushing the cool, smooth surface of the apple. A warmth spread from where he touched it, flowing up his arm, gentle, soothing, as if an unseen embrace had settled around him, with a breath that quivered in his chest. He raised the apple to his lips and took a small bite. Sweetness flooded his senses. But it was more than just taste. It was as if every part of him awakened. Sunlight, warm, golden, wrapped around him, though no sun shone above. He smelled the crispness of fresh grass, felt the tickle of a soft breeze against his skin, and heard the distant, joyful peals of laughter echoing like bells in a far-off village. When his eyes opened, he was no longer standing on Kien Lir, or if he was, it had transformed. Surrounding him was a landscape painted with colors more vivid than any he'd known. Beneath his feet, the grass was lush and inviting. A crystal-clear lake stretched out before him, its still waters reflecting a sky unmarred by clouds. Far off, a butterfly with iridescent wings flitted lazily through the air, settling briefly on his shoulder before fluttering away. "Is this?" Connla's words caught in his throat. "A glimpse of Aldemara," Sorcha answered, standing beside him. Her presence, radiant and serene, seemed woven into the very fabric of this place. "What you feel is just a breath of the peace that world holds. The Amara fruit opens the heart, allowing it to sense what lies beyond the veil." Connla turned slowly, absorbing every detail, the gentle ripple of the lake, the soft rustling of distant trees, the faint hum of life all around him. Everything here seemed whole, gentle, right? "Why an apple?" he finally asked. eyes drifting back to the fruit in his hand. Sorcha smiled, her gaze reflecting the golden light around them. In many realms, the apple is a symbol of connection, of choice, of knowledge, sweet yet mysterious, like the crossroads we all encounter in life. He turned the apple over in his palm. Despite the bite he'd taken, it remained perfectly intact, as if untouched. The surface gleamed, tiny motes of light shifting beneath the skin. "Will it always be like this?" he asked softly. "It endures as long as your longing does," she replied. "When your heart seeks clarity, a taste will guide you. But remember, connection isn't contained in the fruit alone. It lives within you." A thoughtful silence stretched between them. Connla's heart, which had felt so torn, now pulsed with a strange calm, yet a question still lingered on the edges of that newfound peace. "And if I rely on it too much," Sorcha's gaze softened, "then it becomes what you make of it, a bridge or a chain. The choice is yours, always." He nodded, understanding the weight of those words. Bringing the apple to his lips, he took another small bite. This time, warmth spread deeper, saturating him with a profound stillness. The scenery around him seemed to draw closer, vivid yet gentle. He found himself strolling along a sun-dappled path, where trees arched overhead in a canopy of shimmering leaves. In the distance, children's laughter rang out near a brook, and for a fleeting moment, Connla felt as though he'd stepped into a memory he never knew he had, a place not just beautiful, but familiar. Sorcha walked beside him in silence. Eventually, she placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "You don't need to rush," she murmured. "The door to Aldemara opens when your heart is ready. Sometimes what we need isn't an answer, but the stillness to listen." He closed his eyes. In that stillness, he heard it. The steady, rhythmic beat of his own heart. Slow, steady, peaceful. How long had it been since he'd simply breathed like this? When his eyes opened again, the golden world had faded. He was back on Connla, beneath the luminous branches that swayed gently above. The air was cool, and night's familiar hush enveloped him once more. The apple, unmarred and radiant, rested in his hand. Sorcha, however, was gone. Only the faintest trace of her voice lingered in the breeze. Lifting his gaze to the stars, Connla felt no urgency. The light from the luminous tree glowed softly behind him, a patient beacon in the darkness. Slowly, he sat down at the tree's base, leaning against its ancient trunk. Cradling the apple close, he tilted his head back, letting the expanse of the night sky fill his vision. A small smile touched his lips. Perhaps, he thought, not every question needed an immediate answer. Sometimes it was enough just to be, to breathe, to listen, to wait. And that night, for the first time in many restless evenings, Connla drifted into a peaceful sleep beneath the stars, the amara fruit still nestled in his grasp, a quiet bridge between worlds. Mornings in Dunmore began with familiar sounds, the soft creak of cartwheels over cobblestone paths, birds chirping from slate rooftops, and the comforting aroma of fresh bread baking in the kitchens. To most, it was peaceful, but for Eogon, the king, that peace felt like a fragile veil stretched thin over an undercurrent of growing worry. He had watched his son Connla from a distance for weeks. It was in the little things, the skipped meals, the distant gaze drifting beyond the castle walls, the way conversations with him often dissolved into lingering silences. Eogan's heart, seasoned by years of battles and negotiations, knew that what troubled Connla was no passing fancy. He remembered old stories, the kind whispered on stormy nights, of otherworldly beings whose soft words could pull a person from the life they knew. He had dismissed such tales as superstition until now, until he saw that look in his son's eyes. And so, one twilight, when the dying sun cast long golden beams through the high windows of the great hall, Eogan knew he could no longer remain silent. "Connla," he spoke, his voice gentle, yet bearing the weight of a father's concern. "Sit with me, son." There was a moment's hesitation, but Connla obeyed, settling across the heavy wooden table, worn smooth by time and countless conversations. "Is there something you wish to tell me?" Eogan asked, gaze steady but kind. "I've seen you withdraw, not just from me, but from yourself." Connla's fingers tightened on his lap. "It's nothing, father, just things I've been thinking about." The woman, the air between them seemed to freeze. Connla's head snapped up, surprise flashing across his face. "Yes," Eogan continued, his voice soft but firm. "I know. I've heard the whispers, seen the way your eyes linger toward Caranlir when the day fades. You didn't think I'd notice." Connla's shoulders sagged. Part of him wanted to pour out everything, to speak of Sorcha, of the Amara fruit, of the promise of a world untouched by burden, yet another part recoiled, afraid of seeing disappointment in his father's eyes. Eogan, sensing his son's turmoil, leaned forward. "I don't blame you for yearning for something beyond these walls. Who among us hasn't dreamed of escaping responsibility? But son, not everything that glitters beyond the horizon is salvation. Sometimes it's a snare dressed as freedom." "You don't understand," Connla said, voice breaking. "Aldemara, it's not a trap, it's peace. It's where I can be myself. Not a crown's heir, not a name in your shadow, just me." Silence stretched between them, punctuated only by the faint crackle of the hearth. Eogan's gaze didn't falter. "And what of those you leave behind? Your family, your people? There's more to life than just your own desires, Connla. But isn't living more than just duty?" The question slipped out, raw and aching. What good is legacy if I lose myself in carrying it? Eogan's face softened with understanding and sadness intertwined. I've carried that same weight, boy. Chosen the road that was asked of me, not always the one I wanted. And yes, it cost me things. But looking into your eyes now, that's where I found purpose. You, the man you are, and it cost me things, but looking into your eyes now, that's what. Conlan's heart clenched. He wanted to argue, to insist that his father didn't get it, but deep down he knew Eogan spoke from a place of love, not control. Desperate to help his son see reason, Eogan sought out Brannock, an elder druid whose wisdom stretched beyond worldly matters. Brannock's small dwelling sat nestled at the forest's edge, where wind-whispered leaves sang of times long past. Seated across a table with mugs of steaming herbal brew between them, Eogan let his guard drop. "He's slipping through my fingers," he admitted. "I see it in his gaze, the pull of something I don't understand. Tell me there's a way to reach him." Brannock stroked his silver beard thoughtfully. "Connections like the one he's touched are profound. To sever it outright might do more harm than good. Sometimes the heart must walk its own path to know where it belongs. So I should do nothing." Eogan's voice edged with frustration. "Stand by while my son drifts further into a dream that may swallow him whole." The druid reached into a leather pouch, retrieving a small stone talisman etched with ancient runes. "Give him this. It won't break the bond, but may soften the call he hears. Help clear the fog in his mind. If clarity comes, let it be his choice." Olin turned the charm over in his hand, the cool weight grounding him. "Thank you," he murmured. This might be the lifeline I need." Later that evening, as Conlan returned from his solitary wanderings beneath the moonlit hills, he found his father waiting in the courtyard. The night was cool, stars scattering across a velvet sky. "Walk with me," Eogan said, gesturing down a familiar path lined with mossy stones. They strolled in companionable silence until Organ spoke, his words gentle but resolute. "I know I can't hold you here against your will, and I won't. But before you choose, truly choose, I ask one thing." He stopped, turning to face his son. In his palm lay the talisman, its surface glinting softly in the moonlight. "Wear this. It won't chain you, it's only meant to still the noise, so you hear your own heart, not just the law of something beyond." Conlan hesitated. A part of him bristled at the idea. It felt like a tether, a way to ground him when his spirit longed to soar. Yet, the look in his father's eyes was not one of command. It was a plea, threaded with hope and fear and love so fierce it stole the breath from his lungs. Slowly, Conlan took the charm, the cool stone sending a shiver up his arm. Sliding it around his neck, he felt a subtle shift, as if the ever-present pull towards Sorcha and Aldemara dulled just enough for him to breathe fully again. Eoin clasped his shoulder. "No matter where you go, you carry my love. Just promise me you won't rush towards something because it calls. Make sure it's what your soul seeks." Connla's throat tightened. He nodded, words failing him. That night, lying beneath familiar rafters, Connla turned the talisman between his fingers. Moonlight painted soft patterns across his room, silvering the worn wooden beams overhead. The ache pulling him toward Aldemara still pulsed, but quieter now. In that hush, something new emerged. Not answers, but space to listen. Maybe freedom wasn't found in running toward the first open door, no matter how beautiful. Maybe it was in understanding why you wanted to walk through it at all. He closed his eyes, letting the weight of family, longing and love settle around him like a blanket. And for the first time in many restless nights, sleep came, not to lure him away, but to let him rest in the arms of the life he still had for now. That was enough. In the days following his conversation with his father, Connla found himself caught between two worlds, the warmth of home and the pull of Aldemara. The talisman his father gave him hung around his neck, a quiet weight that seemed to muffle the siren call echoing from beyond. Daily life continued. He helped mend fences, joined the smithy in reforging old blades, and laughed with children as they played in the dusty village square. Yet, each evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon and painted the sky in hues of amber and violet, his gaze inevitably drifted toward Connla. There, beneath the blanket of night, something waited. The evening of his decision came beneath a sky so clear it seemed painted with 1,000 flickering lanterns. The stars watched silently as Connla wrapped his cloak around himself and slipped out into the cool night air. His footsteps, familiar with the winding path to Connla, echoed faintly against stones worn smooth by time and countless journeys, though none as significant as this. When he reached the summit, the luminous tree stood as radiant as ever, casting its gentle glow across the swaying grass, and beneath its luminous canopy stood Sorcha. Her presence was as ethereal as the first time they met, her hair shimmering like moonlit water, eyes holding the weight of countless worlds. Yet this time, Connla approached not with hesitation, but with clarity. "I knew you'd come." Sorcha's voice flowed like a soft breeze. He exhaled slowly, eyes drifting toward the glowing bark of the ancient tree. "I tried to ignore it, to bury the longing, but it's part of me now. No matter how I fight, that world calls to something deeper than thought." She nodded. Sometimes the heart recognizes a place long before the mind accepts it. Connla paused, swallowing the knot in his throat. But there's something I need to do first. Sotcha's gaze softened, understanding blooming like dawn's first light. You wish to say goodbye? He nodded. I can't walk away without telling him. Then go, she said gently. I will wait here, as I have before. Without another word, Connla turned back toward the village, each step heavier than the last, not from regret, but from the weight of love he carried with him. The flickering glow of the hearthlight was the only illumination within the castle walls as Connla quietly pushed open the heavy wooden door. Inside, Eogan sat by the fire, its warmth casting golden hues across his weathered face. His gaze, distant yet keen, flicked up as the door creaked. You're leaving, Eogan stated. Not a question, but a truth already accepted. Connla's shoulders sagged. I am. Silence stretched between them, filled only by the soft crackle of burning logs. Finally, Eogan let out a slow breath, eyes reflecting the flickering flames. I thought perhaps that charm might hold you longer. Foolish hope. It helped, Connla whispered, taking a step closer. It gave me space to listen, and I realized ignoring the call doesn't quiet it. Only facing it does. Eogan's hand clenched the arm of his chair, and what if what lies beyond is nothing but a dream? Then at least I'll know, Connla answered. I can't spend my life wondering. The older man rose, each movement carrying the weight of countless battles, both on the field and within his heart. Approaching his son, he placed a calloused hand on his shoulder. You carry my blood, boy. Wherever you go, don't forget that. His voice broke slightly, and if ever that place dims, if you ever wish to find your way back. I know, Connla said softly. Home will be here. Their embrace was brief but fierce, one that spoke of love deeper than words could capture. With the village still cloaked in the tranquility of pre-dawn, Connla made his way back to Connla. Sotcha stood where he'd left her, the glow of the tree casting halos around her figure. Is your heart at peace? She asked. As much as it can be, he replied. It's time. She raised her hand, and the luminous tree responded, its bark parting to reveal a radiant pathway bathed in warm, pulsing light. The air grew thick with the scent of wildflowers and something indescribably sweet, like nostalgia given form. Connla stepped forward. His heart pounded, not with fear, but with the bittersweet ache of change. His foot hovered above the glowing path when, Connla! The voice, strong, familiar, pierced the night. Turning, he saw movement along the winding road below. Torchlights flickered as figures emerged, Yorn at the forefront, villagers following close behind. Children he'd helped, elders he'd shared stories with, friends who had laughed beside him. All running, breathless, eyes shining with emotion, his breath caught. You didn't think we'd let you go without a proper farewell, did you? Bjorn called out, voice thick with emotion. A young girl, a child from the village, hurried forward, pressing a small bundle into his hands. For when you miss us, she whispered. Unwrapping it, Connla found dried herbs and a carved wooden token bearing the village's crest. An elderly woman clasped his face gently. We don't know what lies beyond, lad, but carry kindness with you. It travels farther than feet ever can. Laughter, tears, embraces, each farewell, a thread weaving into a tapestry of love and community. Finally, Eogan approached, face etched with both sorrow and pride. You always were stubborn, he said, a wry smile tugging at his lips. Got that from your mother. His expression softened. Be well, son. And if you find what you're looking for, hold on to it. Connla's eyes burned. I will. The crowd stepped back, allowing him space. Turning towards Sorcha, who watched quietly, he drew a steadying breath. The path awaited, but first, one last glance. His gaze swept over familiar faces, the village rooftops glinting under starlight, the distant fields he'd run through as a boy. Eogan raised a hand, half wave, half blessing. Connla mirrored the gesture. I'll carry you all with me, he whispered. Then, one step, another, into the light. The warmth embraced him, wrapping around his being like a mother's arms. Sorcha followed, her presence steady and reassuring. Behind them, the glow gradually dimmed. On the hill, villagers stood silent, breaths misting in the cool air. Eogan remained long after the others drifted back toward their homes. Fingers brushing the pendant Connla had left behind, he murmured to the breeze, Find your peace, my boy. The wind stirred, gentle and warm, as if carrying a reply from beyond. Above, the stars shone on, and somewhere, in a realm beyond sight, a journey had just begun. The light from the luminous tree slowly faded, leaving a deep, calming stillness on the summit of Connla. The night breeze stirred gently, carrying the faint scent of wild grasses and the lingering warmth of farewells exchanged. In the distance, Eogan stood silently, his gaze fixed on the spot where the radiant glow had once illuminated the hilltop. Pride and longing stirred within him. His son had stepped into an unknown world, guided by his heart, and as a father, he could only hope the journey would lead to peace. Beyond the veil of light, Connla stepped into a realm unlike any he had imagined. Aldemara stretched out before him. Endless fields bathed in soft shimmering hues. Skies painted with colors beyond mortal comprehension. And an air imbued with a tranquil warmth. He paused, taking in the serenity that surrounded him. Every breath he drew in this new world seemed to dissolve his past burdens, and yet, beneath the wonder, there remained a quiet ache, a tether to the life and the people he had left behind. Sorcha appeared at his side, her gaze kind. "This is the home your heart has longed for," she said softly. Connla nodded, his eyes sweeping over the breathtaking landscape. "It is," he murmured, "but part of me still lingers elsewhere." Sorcha smiled knowingly. "Even when we find what we seek, the places and people we carry within us never fade." He glanced skyward, where unfamiliar constellations glittered, and for a fleeting moment he imagined his father standing beneath the same stars. No matter how far he traveled, love remained a bridge spanning any distance. The journey to self-discovery is vital, but never at the cost of forgetting those who walk beside you. In today's fast-paced world, many seek solace in distant places, hoping to rediscover themselves. Connla's path reminds us that while it's essential to explore and grow, the connections we have, family, friends, community, are the roots that ground us. True fulfillment comes not from abandoning these ties, but from integrating them into our evolving selves. Freedom isn't found in escaping, it lies in conscious choice. Connla believed that leaving behind responsibility would grant him freedom. Yet, he learned that freedom is not simply running towards something new, but embracing the weight of decision with awareness and acceptance. In modern life, where opportunities to start over abound, it's crucial to ask, am I running away from something, or moving toward my truth? Every goodbye holds the seed of growth. Departures are often tinged with sorrow, yet they carve out space for understanding and maturity. Eogan's farewell wasn't just an end, it was a gift, a blessing wrapped in bitter-sweet words. Letting go, whether of people, places, or phases of life, can be a profound act of love for others. As no perfect place, peace is cultivated, not found. Though Aldemara was a dream made real, Connla discovered that no place alone can fulfill every longing. Modern life tempts us with promises that happiness lies elsewhere, in a new job, city, or relationship. But lasting contentment arises from appreciating what we hold dear wherever we stand. You always carry a piece of home with you, whether home is a person, a memory, or a place. It remains part of us. Connla's journey was about seeking a new beginning, yet his heart never forgot the warmth of familiar faces, the comforting weight of shared stories, and the unwavering love of a father. In our modern wanderings, remembering where we come from can be the compass guiding us through life's uncertainties. Connla's tale is, at its core, a reflection of every soul's journey, the pull between duty and desire, between staying rooted and seeking the unknown. It speaks to that universal longing within us all, to live authentically, to find a place where our spirit feels at peace. But the story's wisdom lies in the realization that home is not a single location. It is a collection of the people we love, the choices we make, and the lessons we carry forward. As you rest tonight, let these thoughts settle in your heart. What is it your heart quietly calls for? When you stand at a crossroads, what guides your steps? Fear, longing, or love? And wherever you wander, do you remember that peace isn't something you find? It's something you create. May you, like Connla, listen to the voice within, walk your path with courage, and never forget that there's always a place and people to whom your heart can return. Now that the story has come to an end, allow yourself to fully let go. This is your time to release the worries of the day, to heal after everything you've carried, and gently drift into a peaceful sleep. Lie comfortably on your back, arms resting softly at your sides, palms facing up. Feel the gentle embrace of your bedding beneath you. Inhale slowly through your nose, letting your belly rise with the breath. Hold it for a few moments, and exhale slowly through your mouth, imagining all the day's tension flowing out with each breath. Continue to breathe just like that, calm, unrushed and soothing. As you breathe, begin to notice any tightness in your body. Let your shoulders relax, dropping away from your ears. Soften your jaw, let your hands grow heavy, and feel your legs sink into the mattress. If you wish, you can gently stretch your limbs, inviting comfort to settle in every part of you. Now, gently close your eyes. Picture yourself standing beneath the vast glowing canopy of the luminous tree. Its radiant light envelopes you like a warm embrace, gentle and calming. A soft breeze brushes against your skin, carrying the fresh, calming scent of wildflowers and grass. As you stand there, the healing frequency sounds begin to play around you. Subtle tones that seem to wrap around your soul, soothing every corner of your mind and body. Let the sound guide you. It's not just music. It's a wave of healing energy, cradling you, inviting you to let go. Each note vibrates through you like a gentle stream washing away the weight of the day. The sound is tender yet powerful, drawing you into a place where time slows down and your heart finds rest. With every breath, imagine the sound frequencies settling into your chest, spreading warmth and light through your limbs, your fingertips, your toes. Thoughts may drift in, and that's perfectly okay. Let them pass like clouds in a wide open sky. If you find yourself wandering, gently bring your focus back to the sounds echoing around you, grounding you in the present moment. Whisper softly to yourself, "I have done my best today. It's time to rest and heal. I deserve this peace The healing frequencies continue to envelop you, as if the sounds are gently rocking you into serenity. You are safe, you are warm, you are deeply cared for. Soon you'll find yourself slipping into a soft space, a space of dreams where worries dissolve and only calm remains. Let the sounds lull you deeper, each tone a soft blanket tucking you in further, nurturing you in this moment of stillness. May you have a peaceful night's rest. Let the healing sounds continue to soothe you, guiding you into sweet, restorative dreams. Tomorrow awaits with fresh energy, lightness and calm. Sleep well, dear one. You deserve this peace.